Good evening from Johannesburg. I'm Pinky Khoabane. Welcome to Let's Have It Out. Tonight and every weeknight here on ENCA, a variety of newsmakers will get their chance to host this program. We'll give you, the viewer, a chance to get involved in the conversation. Unfiltered, accountable, and accessible. The raging debate on radical economic transformation, an issue that has dominated public discourse, stems from the failure to transform the economy from one group of people, whites, to the black majority. In the studio tonight to debate why economic transformation has failed is the Group CEO of 360 Financial Services Group, a subsidiary of NUMSA Investment Company. The 360 FSG owns companies in various sectors of financial services, which include Doves Group, 360 Life Insurance Company, Sechaba Medical Solutions, which administers Sizwe Medical Fund. Recently, Mr. Msibi announced their intention to list the 360 Financial Services Group on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We look at why economic transformation has failed, the concept of BEE vis-à-vis black business. We profile two black companies which have been in the news headlines recently, VBS and Sizwe Medical Aid, and how both emerged from the contributions of poor and ordinary citizens to sustain competition and exclusion, and how tragically one became a looting spree by its black executives. In contrast to what is now seen as a failure of black business to run businesses, we talk about Sizwe Medical Aid, which is 40 years old this year. You can be part of the conversation, and this is how.
Tweet us at ENCA using the hashtag LHIO. Call us on 011-759-6340 or send us a WhatsApp or WhatsApp video on 082-884-6370. And make sure those videos are no longer than 30 seconds, please.
Mr. Khandani Msibi joins me now in the studio. Dr. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you very much, Pinky, and really appreciate being here.
Thank you. Now, let's just talk about economic transformation. It's 24 years since our democracy. We have a black government. We have a black public service. We have a plethora of policies that say we need to shift the economy. And yet, very little has happened. Can we continue to blame white people, or should we be looking at ourselves?
Well, I mean, the economy has not transformed. We all know that. There was a reason why various organizations launched the armed struggle in order to fight for the land and to fight for economic inclusion by black people, in fact, the right to participate in the economy. And every year, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Labour bemoans the slow progress in employment equity. And we also know that in as far as economic transformation, which I define it in 5 areas, that you have first the BBBE compliance by white companies, which is legislated, the equity acquisition by the black elite in white companies, the establishment, development, and growth of black business, right? Which many, like Sechaba Medical Solutions, the administrator of Sizwe Medical Fund, was started in the days of apartheid, but has not seen as much traction in the new dispensation, and the establishment, support, and growth of SMMEs, which in particular the black SMMEs are actually struggling in terms of access to capital and access to markets, and the last part for me in terms of economic transformation is a general participation of black people in the economy. By that I mean the access of black people to good food, to good accommodation, to good healthcare, and to good education, and the real participation and enjoyment of the fruit of the wealth of this country, and all of those 5 for me are very crucial in defining economic empowerment. But I think we do know that we tend to talk about the top three, which I think I'm happy to hone in on to.
But I still say, you know, given your definitions of what economic transformation is, and the fact that we have fought all these years to be where we are today, and yet we are incapable as black people who are in power to use our power to get that transformation. I'm asking you, do we need a fundamental change in the way we think about ourselves, firstly? The idea that, the way I see it sometimes is like, you know, we don't want to mess with Mahoa. We don't want to muddy the waters. And I mean, I just look from this simple fact that our government today denies that there is white monopoly capital. How do you move from that stance where you are in denialism to be able to ensure that the economy moves to the black people?
Yes. There's obviously three players, like you mentioned, as far as transformation is concerned. It's a state, it's a white business, white monopoly capital, and it's black people and black business. Now, the state's legislation is written in such a way that the black people have to depend on white people to empower them. Right? There is no legislation that enables black people to empower themselves. Right? And if you look at the nature of BEE, triple BEE, which is about that empowerment of black people by white business, they decide who to empower. To what extent do they get empowered? And they've even gone to an extent of saying, once empowered, always empowered, which means that it then defines them as the ones who have been empowered. Because then says, once empowered, the white company that has been empowered is always empowered. It doesn't talk about the nature of empowerment of the people that were supposed to be part of the transformation. And secondly, it is the exclusion of black business from the markets in South Africa. If a black business struggles with access to market, if you want to manufacture a soft drink, you got to have access to shelf space. And for you to get shelf space, it's a white business that controls the shelf space. And also from ourselves, there's a lot of things that we can do, that we can change working with the state. I mean, if you look at the fact that we have retirement funds, black retirement funds, which could amount to more than R1 trillion. But we don't have the enabling legislation that enable black people to actually empower themselves. So we're sitting here expecting white people to empower us, which is literally asking them to shoot themselves in the foot. And no wonder empowerment is not progressing as fast as it should, because we're expecting white people to empower us. And legislation is actually structured in such a way that it depends on them to drive empowerment.
Well, we'll take a short break and come back.
Thank you.